Good morning, Emmanuel. Happy Tuesday. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Tim Sales and I've been part of this church community for about a decade. Today I have the privilege of opening the Bible for us and sharing a few thoughts as we continue our series looking at the heart and the particular topic of money and wealth. I'm conscious that with things developing as they are this week, that this subject matter will be particularly challenging for some. And my hope is that you'd know the truth of what we're going to open in the Bible today, and it would serve you really well. So let's turn to 1 Timothy chapter 6 and kicking off at verse 6. Yet true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us when we came into this world, and we can't take anything with us when we leave it. So if we have enough food and clothing, let us be content. But people who long to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many foolish and harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and some people craving money have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. So there's two themes I want to pick up from this. The first is where we started off, this idea that true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. I think if you've been around a church community, you would be able to subscribe to that, sign up to that as a broad theme. But I wonder if you, like me, sometimes find yourself thinking, if I just had a bit more, I might be content. If I just had slightly nicer thing here or there, I might be content. If I just had a bit more money in savings, that would allow me to be content. If you are a similar age to me, you will have grown up with excellent movies like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective and The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and later Bruce Almighty, and be familiar with a guy called Jim Carrey, who has a net worth estimated at between 150 and 180 million US dollars. Not the richest man in the world, but he's doing okay. And he says this: I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything that they ever dreamed of so that they can see that it is not the answer. You see, Jim Carrey, like the Bible, understands that money is not the answer to our contentment. The second thing that I wanted to pick up on is a verse that many will be familiar with. A work colleague the other day said to me that money is the root of all evil. And I said, nearly. What the Bible actually says is the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. See, money in and of itself is not bad at all. It's a gift to us from God that we are to steward, as we've been focusing on in this series. But if we put our trust and our hope in money, if we're pursuing money for the wrong reasons, then that can get us into all kinds of trouble. And again, that idea, I think you may be comfortable with, that you don't want your life to be about just the pursuit of money. But I wonder if you, like me, sometimes find yourself making decisions that seem to be more about the pursuit of money than they can necessarily be about the heart of God. And so there are three ways I would really love us to be able to apply this today and going forward in the week. The first, if you are someone who does not have enough right now, who doesn't have these basics that we look at, food, clothing, in our country, shelter, and access to a number of other things, then my hope and prayer is that you would know God as your provider this week, that you would push into him, that you would push into him for your contentment, but also for your provision, and that he, potentially through us as a church community, would be able to provide for you. Secondly, if you're someone who, like me, sometimes thinks, if I just bought this, maybe I'd be content. Can I encourage you, as my wife reminded me at the weekend, to implement the 2-week rule, which is when you're looking at buying something outside of the non-essential category, i.e. food and things like that you pause for 2 weeks and you come back to that in 2 weeks' time and then consider whether actually you still need it or want it, or it's still going to be a wise decision to purchase that, recognizing that your contentment's not going to be there. And then thirdly, I wonder again if you're a bit like me, and sometimes you might compare yourself to someone else and think, if I just had that like they have it, that would make me content. If I just had their house or their car or their work or their bank balance that might make me content. And using terminology of the season, I wonder if it's time for us to put some circuit breakers in. Let me give you an example from me. I quite like cars. And sometimes I find myself when I'm driving down the road looking at different cars thinking, maybe I could get that one, maybe I could get that one. They don't necessarily need to be overly expensive, but it's just something that fills up my mind and gives me a sense of slight unease and a discontentment. And I sometimes have to put a circuit breaker in and think, right, I'm not looking up anything, I'm not reading about any cars. I'm going to try and pay not too much attention because I want my life to be content in God, and I don't want to be comparing myself to the things that other people have. So my hope this week for us is that we would know contentment in God, that we would not be loving money leading to evil, but that we would be addressing money as a subject really well. And I look forward to sharing further on Thursday as we delve in a bit deeper. Thanks for listening.